Origins of Firestar. Trained to be an assassin with her microwave-manipulating mutant powers, Firestar instead grew to be a popular hero. A key former member of New Warriors, now member of the X-Men. Bart Jones was a hard-working employee of the nuclear industry, a job that kept him and his family moving around the country. Although he was widowed, he had help from his elderly mother to raise his 13-year-old daughter Angelica. The two would often disagree over how to treat Angelica, with her nana trying to raise her spirits and convince her that she was special, and her daddy trying to be more realistic. Moving around the country had been difficult on Nana's health and Angelica's ability to make friends. After their last move, Angel found it more difficult than ever to make new friends. The local girls were initially spiteful, and became exceptionally jealous when the most popular boy in school began to show a romantic interest in Angel. Their taunting in the school cafeteria caused her to subconsciously overheat her carton of chocolate milk, which subsequently exploded over a teacher and landed her in detention. They later destroyed her entry for the school's ice sculpting competition, the anger and pain of which caused Angel's powers to melt all the other entries. Terrified, she ran to a public telephone to try and speak to her nana. However, Angel panicked when Nana didn't answer the phone, causing the telephone to melt in her hands. Scared, hurt, and confused, Angelica ran home to discover an ambulance there. It transpired that on the day that Angelica's mutant powers manifested, her nana had passed away from a heart attack. Angelica kept her powers a secret, for fear of being further outcast in a society that lived in fear of dangerous mutants. She chose to reveal her secret to her father after her nana's funeral. In the snow-covered cemetery, Bart Jones refused to listen to his daughter's claims that she was special until she began to glow and the snow around her began to melt. Her father was just a working-class man who had nothing to do with the political implications of mutants in society, but he was scared of what his little girl was growing into. Firestar's evolution into a superhero was told in 1986 in the Firestar Limited series. Unknown to Angelica, there were two mutant specialists in North America who were constantly on the lookout for new mutants to train. One was Professor Charles Xavier, who was currently training the new mutants, and the other was Emma Frost, White Queen of the Hellfire Club and mentor to the Hellions. Both of the telepathic head teachers had mutant-detecting machinery which traced Angelica's mutant signature when her powers first manifested. However, by the time that Professor X arrived at the Jones family home, he realized that he was too late. Angelica's father had already agreed that she was to attend the White Queen's prestigious Massachusetts Academy. Angelica was devoted to Emma Frost. She had been given a beautiful gold bracelet, a new home, excellent schooling, free use of the school's stables, and a new father figure in the shape of her bodyguard, Randall Chase. Although Angel wasn't allowed to go far without Randall's supervision, the two grew close like an older brother and younger sister. He would often accompany her while she was out riding her favorite horse, Butter Rum, and remind her not to be late for class. Unlike Angel, he suspected the White Queen's personal interest in Angelica's development. The White Queen had manipulated Angelica's fear of her own mutant powers, to the point that Angel wouldn't associate with any of the normal students at the academy. Unlike the Hellions, Angelica was not involved in any group training sessions, which resulted in a combination of intrigue and contempt from her peers. While Thunderbird attempted to invite her to activities, Empathy and Roulette would taunt and bully her with their powers. She had become a social outcast, and remained awkwardly shy and clumsy during the school dance. Emma Frost had invited the new mutants to the Massachusetts Academy for a formal dance, and with a little telepathic coercion and some friendly cajoling from Roberto da Costa, Sam Guthrie asked Angelica to dance. Neither one of them was confident enough to dance, so they went for a walk outside. In the night air, Sam and Angel shared a brief kiss, before Emma Frost telepathically interrupted the moment. She scolded Angelica for endangering Sam's life, causing Angel to run away. She headed for the stables, but everything suddenly burst into flames. Despite pulling butter rum out of the barn, the horse immediately lost all strength and died in front of Angelica. Distraught that her powers had killed one of the few living beings she cared for, Angelica ran away into the woods where Emma Frost found and comforted her. Some time later Ms. Frost arranged for Angelica to go home for a visit. Angel was thrilled at the prospect of going home, and Randall accompanied her on the trip. Her father met them at the airport, but the atmosphere between them was tense. As soon as she arrived home, Angel scooped up her cat Pumpkin for a cuddle, but her father verbally lashed out at her and snatched the cat away. He didn't trust her powers, and feared that she would burst into flames at any moment. This tension caused a great rift between father and daughter. As such, the visit was cut short and Randall made arrangements to fly Angel back to Massachusetts the next day. At the airport, Randall was held back by his fellow Hellfire Club henchmen while other undercover operatives incited anti-mutant violence against Angelica and her father. Confused and scared, Angelica lashed out at the henchmen who had been kicking her father. Under extreme circumstances, she had finally used her powers against another human being. As a girl in her mid-teens, Angelica had lived at the Massachusetts Academy for at least 4 years. The emotional manipulations of Empathy and Emma Frost continued to take their toll on Angelica, and it would take many years more before she truly became comfortable using her powers. Someone who grew up in the shadow of Emma Frost and the Hellions would continue to have adventures connected to their past. It wasn't long after the team formed that her old mentor, the White Queen, paid Angelica and the new warriors a visit. In order to access information on Angelica, Night Thrasher had hacked into the Hellfire Club's computers. The hack had been detected and the source had been identified. Night Thrasher and Silhouette were ambushed by the Hellions, and the rest of the new warriors responded to the call. The confrontation broke down into a series of one-on-one battles, which nearly ended in a tie. The final battle to break the tie was Firestar against Bevatron, a fight which was hidden from view until Firestar carried Bevatron's unconscious body back inside. With the majority of the Hellions defeated, and after Angelica's speech on morality, the White Queen left her former pupil alone. The parting was bitter, and it would be the last chance for Angel to see many of the Hellions alive. Sometime later, Cannonball notified Angelica of the tragic events that led to the deaths of the Hellions. He and Warpath accompanied Angelica into the dark jungles of South America, searching for their former teammates Magma and Empathy in the ancient city of Nova Roma to tell them the bad news. There, she realized that something was wrong, and was soon attacked by locals. She remained reluctant to use her powers, but eventually was forced to use them to a greater degree. It transpired that Selene had once built the city by kidnapping people from around the world and brainwashing them into believing that they were descended from ancient Romans. When that spell began to fade, Empathy began to use his own manipulating powers to keep the people there. However, Firestar's emissions countered Empathy's powers, and therefore weakened his grip over Nova Roma and over Magma. Although his motives weren't malicious, Empathy acknowledged that what he had done was wrong and remained in the jungle to help reintegrate the population of Nova Roma into modern-day society. Firestar returned to New York, while Cannonball and Warpath returned to X-Force. Yet as former Hellions, Firestar, Empathy, and Magma were soon targeted again by another manipulating supervillain. Justice had been released from prison, but instead of returning to the New Warriors he went into the employment of Shinobi Shaw, son and heir of Sebastian Shaw. On the surface it looked as if Vance had betrayed the Warriors, but in secret he was acting as their informant. Shinobi Shaw had ambitions to become a member of the Upstarts, a team of young, sadistic, and rich superhumans who were awarded points according to various games devised by the game's master. The latest game was to collect as many former members of the Hellions and New Mutants. Shinobi intended to use Vance's connection to Angelica in order to deliver her to Games Master. However, Games Master changed the rules and took both Firestar and Justice from Shaw. Although X-Force and the New Warriors teamed up to save their friends, Games Master telepathically forced Firestar, Justice, Cannonball, Boomer, Karma, and Moonstar to fight their friends. Ultimately, all the members of both teams were defeated by a single blast from telepathically controlled Sienna Blaze. They were subsequently saved by the intervention and quick thinking of Husk, who wagered that the two teams would provide Games Master greater entertainment in the future after they had all mastered their powers. Powers and abilities. Firestar's powers includes the ability to generate, redirect and absorb ambient radiation and manipulate it into microwave radiation, fire plasma blasts, light generation, disruption of electronics and psionic powers and flight. Her surrounding environment provides differing amounts of radiation for her body to absorb, and therefore she can use her powers to greater effect. Such instances have been shown during her adventures in space, where her powers are enhanced the most. She was able to soak up cosmic rays and redirect them with impressive effect, such as hurting Garth Saul, who held almost all the power of the Nova Corps, and also opening up a space gate with ease, which has only been done by few powerful characters. Even when back on Earth, she is not limited to the amount of radiation she can absorb. However, she chooses to use her microwave blasts less offensively for fear of harming the local population and environment. Her blasts look fiery in nature, but they are in fact intensely burning microwave blasts. She can focus the blasts, and the spectrum range of the radiation she emits. Usually she manipulates the radiation, causing a target to burst into flame, explode, or melt. She has the capability to melt thick red brick walls, as was demonstrated when she first encountered Night Thrasher, Nova, and Marvel Boy. Ultimately, by creating enough of a downwards thrust, she can force her body upwards into the air and therefore create the power of flight much in the same way as the Human Torch or Sunfire. Although she cannot match the speed of Nova, she is more agile in flight than Cannonball, and is adept at firing off blasts of fiery radiation with impressive accuracy in mid-flight. Although she had been manipulated by the White Queen, it was that training to be an assassin which has enabled Firestar to use her powers so expertly.